Wow, what a crazy year. The middleweight adventure market has just blown up. There are so many bikes in this class, and I'm going to go through a bunch of them today, and I'm going to give you what my top 3 picks are, and if I was to buy one today, which bike I'd choose. Hey, thanks for joining the Skitch on Wheels channel today. Have you been paying attention to the adventure motorcycle world? If you have, then you know things have been changing. Gone are the days where the gatekeeper, the established motorcycle manufacturer of the past 10 years, is supplying us with all our ADV bikes. That time has changed. No longer do you have to depend on them and also on their high price tags of $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. The big badge, the big name, the big payment. Those days are changing. But here's the truth nobody's talking about. We're living in the golden age of ADV motorcycling. And those budget bikes, they're not just catching up. They're changing this entire segment of motorcycling. Hey, now's the time. I'm going to make some of you mad, just like I have on previous videos. You let me know in the comments and do it on this one too. Some of you got it right. Some of you didn't. But anyway, I've got to make some decisions. I got to decide and set some ground rules for what I consider a budget bike, what I consider a middleweight bike, and what I consider a capable ADV bike. So let's start off and define what I feel like a budget bike is. Now, budget-friendly bike to me is $12,000 and less. And the way I got to that is that there's a lot of these bikes that have a standard model and then a premium model. And it seems like that cutoff price is right around $12,000. If it's less than that, you're going to get a standard bike. But if they put some other options on it, they use a little bit better parts, such as suspension or something, it's going to be up above $12,000. So we're using $12,000 as our mark. Back in the 1980s, when I was graduating high school, I could buy a brand new Camaro Z28 for $10,000. So $12,000 to me is a lot of money, and I'm sure for most of you it's a lot of money as well. But when we talk about the ADV market, that's where these bikes are priced. But right now, we're going to stick with those bikes that are under $12,000. Next up, I'm going to describe to me what an adventure bike is and give you a definition.
An ADV bike is a versatile, long-distance touring motorcycle designed to perform on-road and reasonably well off-road. It must be comfortable, have a large fuel tank for extended range, and have the capacity to carry luggage.
There you go. That's my definition of what an ADV bike is. And you're all going to have a little variation of that, but I bet we're pretty close. Now we're going to talk about middleweight, and that for me is a bike 501 cc's to 999 cc's. So a lot of you are going to ask, why am I using cc's and not using the actual weight of the bike? So if we eliminate the weight part of it and we think about bikes by power, and now we have a middleweight by power and not by how much the bike weighs, I think that's going to make more sense. At least it does for me. Once you pick out how much power you need, then go look and see if the bike's too heavy for you or not. We all know the Yamaha Tenere is a bear to pick up, but it's not the heaviest in its class. It's all depending on where it carries its weight. But you know what doesn't change? Its power and how many cc's it has. So that's why I'm going to classify middleweight bikes as 501 cc's to 999 cc's. We've got 9 bikes to cover today, which is a great problem to have, but it's challenging because a lot of these bikes are really, really good. Some are better off-road, some are better on-road, some do a good 50-50 mix. But the first bike we're going to go into is the Kove 800X Pro. So let's go have a look. The Kove 800X Pro might be the most interesting middleweight bike that we have right now, but it's also the one with the most question marks. The Kove is light, it's fast, it's very capable off-road, and it's coming for bikes like the Yamaha Ténéré or the KTM 790. The engine is a 799cc parallel twin. It's got 95 horsepower, and it's got 59 foot-pounds of torque. Transmission is a 6-speed multi-plate clutch. It does come with a quick shifter, but only in limited markets. So this motor that's in the new Kove, some of you will be familiar with. It's the same motor that's in the KTM 790 Adventure and the new CF Moto 800 MTX. So we already know it makes good power. The power to weight ratio on this bike is going to be the best in class. Now the thing that we notice that's different is it's not as refined. It's not as polished as the KTM 790. The engine sounds rough. There's some noticeable rattles. The gearbox isn't quite as smooth as what's in the 790. In sport mode, the throttle can be kind of snappy. It just isn't a refined Japanese twin like we're used to in some of the other models. But it's got a lot of power, and some of you might not care because the weight to power ratio is so good. So you might like that. Here's a big plus for this bike. It's only 408 pounds or 185 kilograms wet. The weight is somewhat controversial. It comes from the factory stating that it's 408 pounds or 185 kilograms. But people have weighed this bike anywhere from 419 to 432 pounds. And that's a big difference. And if it's 408 pounds, it is the lightest bike in this class. And that's a big deal. But if it's more like 432 pounds, well, it's not as big a deal. Got decent fuel capacity with 5 gallons or 19 liters. Suspension is by KYB with 9.5 inches of travel or 241 millimeters in the front, and also the same KYB 9.5 inches of travel in the back. Both this front and rear suspension is fully adjustable. It's going to be really hard to bottom this bike out. Now off-road, this is where the 800X Pro earns your trust. It rides like a big dirt bike. The fuel tank sits low around the engine and under the seat, and making this bike feel really narrow, and it's carrying its weight very low with a low center of gravity. Another plus with this bike, the ground clearance is 10.8 inches or 275 millimeters. Seat height is 34.5 inches or 876 millimeters. Now the wheels, we've got a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear, and they're tubeless tires. Tires are Pirelli Scorpion Rally STRs, and the brakes are by Tiasco. Now on the highway, it does surprisingly well. It feels planted, and at 70 miles per hour, there's very little vibration through the bars. But here's the thing. The wind noise is loud, the intake noise is loud, there's some mild buffeting, but it does fairly well, what you would expect from an ADV bike that is heavily dirt-oriented. Miscellaneous things about the bike, it does come with a skid plate, some crash bars, and a steering damper. The large vertical TFT screen is easy to read. There's 2 modes, Eco and Sport, and the screen will change color depending on what mode you're in. So a really nice touch to where you can look really briefly at the screen and know which mode you're in. Now the ABS, it's either full on, full off, front on, back off. So that's the normal setup on a lot of these bikes. But here's the thing, this bike does remember what setting you were at when you turn it off and turn it back on. It's going to go to your previous setting, which I think every bike should be that way. The price for this bike is $11,299 for the standard model or $12,999 for the rally model, which I'm going to review when I go over my premium bikes. But let's go and let's run through some of the good and some of the bad and recap what we know about the Kove 800X Pro. Talking about the good, we've got best power to weight ratio, excellent KYB adjustable suspension, lower center of gravity. It comes well equipped. It's the lightest bike in our segment. Large, easy to use TFT, and it remembers our ABS and traction control settings. Time to touch on what the bike lacks compared to some of its competitors. There's a jerky throttle in the lower gears, loud intake and engine noise, no cruise control, brakes feel a bit mushy and soft, the fit and finish is not class leading, there's limited dealer network, and it has unproven long-term reliability. You know, this bike hasn't been around a whole lot. Even though the engine has, the rest of the bike hasn't. So we haven't really seen it prove itself. The other part is the dealer network. Are you going to be able to get parts? And is a dealer going to be close to you? So there's some things that we just don't know yet about this bike. So let's talk about who this Kove 800X Pro is for. Well, it's for you guys out there that want the most performance per dollar. And that's what this bike is going to give you. If you're hardcore off-road, this bike is going to do it for you. Now, who it's not for is any of you that need the dealership to change your oil, you need the dealership in your backyard in case you need some extra parts. I mean, if you want brand loyalty and you want good resale value, we're not sure about the Kove, so this bike might not be for you. So that's the Kove 800X Pro, and it's a great bike, and I'm glad to see it in this list, and it's definitely worth a look. Now let's head on. Let's look at our next bike. Since we've been talking about Kove, did you know that Westwind Moto is an official sponsor of the Kove Dakar Rally Team? They are the first motorcycle luggage brand to have their gear tested at Dakar. Here's a little interesting fact about this company. About 6 years ago, there's a group of riders, about 50 of them. They ride the Tibetan Plateau in the Gobi Desert in China. They need some really durable luggage. They pulled their own money. They created a line of luggage that was made just for them. Now, they didn't sell it at first, but so many people were asking them where they got that luggage. That's where Westwind Moto was born. Jump forward 6 years, and now they're the reference brand in China for soft luggage. Hey, thanks a lot to Westwind Moto. They just became an affiliate sponsor of the Skitch on Wheels channel. They sent me this rackless Ranger Wild 40 pack, and so I got 2 side luggage, I got a tail bag. We're going to go over this. It's really good, high quality premium stuff. I'm going to put it on the DRZ4S, so look for that video to come shortly. Also, you can go in the description, follow the link, put in the coupon code, all that good stuff. You can save some money off stuff on their website. Go have a look, because there is a ton of stuff there. The other way you can do that, this QR code, zoom in on that with your phone, and it'll take you to the website as well. Also, anything over $200 is free shipping. So thanks again to Westwind Moto. Now let's get back to the bikes. Next up, the Honda Transalp. Now, just aesthetically, this is one of my favorite looking bikes, especially now that we have the paint option of white and the red and blue trim. It's a really sharp looking bike. There's a lot of good about this bike. So let's get into some of the specifications. First off, it's got a 755cc parallel twin. It produces 83 horsepower and has 55 foot-pounds of torque. It also has a 6-speed transmission with the power-assisted slipper clutch, and stock, it comes with a quick shifter. The standout feature of the Transalp has to be its motor. It's sporty, it's genuinely fun, and it's punchy when you get to mid to higher RPMs. You get a lot more out of this motor than you would expect. The delivery is smooth and responsive. The engine feels fast, but it's not overwhelming. Weight is a little bit on the robust side. It's 460 pounds or 207 kilograms. Fuel tank is 4.5 gallons or 17 liters. For suspension, we get Showa suspension up front and in the rear. Now up front, you get 7.9 inches of travel or 200 millimeters. And in the back, you get 7.5 inches of travel or 190 millimeters. In the back, you only have preload adjustment only. Ground clearance is 8.3 inches or 210 millimeters. When it comes to ground clearance, one of the lowest points on this bike is the oil pan. And if you hit a rock or you go and you bottom this bike out, guess what you're going to hit? You're going to hit the oil pan. And if you put a hole in that or you damage that oil pan, your day is done. Now the suspension, this is where you're going to find that Honda made a compromise over the happy medium. For anybody that's heavy into off-road or even a physically heavier rider, this bike is going to have some problems in the suspension. It feels underdamped or undersprung. And when you start going to rough terrain, hitting obstacles, you're going to go through that 7.5 to 8 inches of travel pretty quickly. Now on the pavement, this bike is a blast on the twisty roads. It carries its weight low, making the suspension predictable. This bike just is at home on the highway. For a middleweight adventure bike, touring comfort is very impressive on this bike. I rode it recently, and after I got off that bike, I felt like I could put another 2 to 3 hours in. Seat height is 33.7 inches or 850 millimeters. The lower seat height is good and friendly for new riders or shorter riders. It gives you a little bit more confidence when riding both on-road and off-road. The wheels, we got a 21-inch front and an 18-inch rear, and they are tube tires. Transalp stock tires are the Metzler Karoo Street. The brakes are made by Nissan. This year's model has a whole updated front end, from the headlight to the fairing to the windscreen. It even has an adjustable windshield now, and the TFT display has been upgraded as well. This includes several ride modes: standard, sport, rain, gravel, and the ability to make custom modes yourself. So the TFT screen has been updated a little bit, and it's got a lot of different rider modes, but it's just not an intuitive screen. It's kind of annoying to get in there and work around in. And the other thing is, when you turn your bike off and turn it back on, it's not going to hold your last ABS setting. Now, surprisingly, in off-road mode, the ABS and traction control seem to work really well, enough so that riders have commented that they don't turn it off, that it's not going to limit you and get in the way, and it actually aids in your riding. And you get this all for $9,999. Let's recap the good on the Honda Transalp. It has a sporty, smooth, and punchy engine. It's light and agile, both on and off-road. It does have a lower seat height. It has excellent highway comfort. It has a good off-road ABS and traction control. It has a comfortable seat for long distance. The toggle switch on the handlebar is backlit, and it does come with Honda RoadSync connectivity. Now let's touch a bit on what's not so good. The suspension is soft and basic. It has a low exhaust and oil pan, no cruise control, annoying TFT interface, and it does not hold ABS settings. It's difficult to adjust the rear suspension, and it doesn't come with many accessories like a USB port or handguards. A big negative here is that you must remove the fuel tank to get air filter access. So let's ask the question, who is this Transalp for? Well, I think it's for those that like to ride mostly highway, probably 70 to 80% highway, venture off to a dirt road or a gravel road, maybe take a little bit harder trail once in a while, but definitely no single track stuff. And nothing that's going to be too aggressive for this bike. So I think if that's your niche, then this is an excellent bike to look at. So then the next question is, who is the bike not for? Well, I think it's probably not for anybody that's hardcore off-road riding, someone who likes to tweak their suspension a lot, just getting on single tracks once in a while, maybe not the best bike for you. But this is a really awesome bike. Honda's done a good job this year with this model. They've done some decent upgrades to it. Let's move on. Let's see what our next bike is. Next, let's discuss the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. Now, this bike I might be a little partial to because I own a 2025 Suzuki DRZ4S. And believe it or not, these bikes do have some things in common, especially their electronics. Now, Suzuki introduced this bike back in 2023, the DE version. Now, the V-Strom has been out for a while, but this new DE version is going to be their off-road model. And with a little bit of tweaking in the suspension, I think this could be a really good 50-50 bike. So let's have a look. The engine is 776 cc's, and it's a parallel twin. It has 83 horsepower and 58 foot-pounds of torque. It does come with Suzuki's 6-speed clutch assist transmission, and it has a quick shifter. Time to talk about the engine. So it does have a really good smooth mid-power, but the low range, the low torque is what's surprising in this V-Strom. I've seen this bike tractor up a low incline in second gear without any throttle response, and it doesn't die. It just keeps on going. So having that very smooth low-end throttle that's not jerky and having good low-end torque, that's what sold me on the DRZ4S. And now I know it's different, it's a dual sport and it should do that, but the fact that this is carried over to a middleweight adventure bike shows that Suzuki cares about the rider that's going to be in moderate off-road conditions that might be average skill level, and they don't want to keep the RPMs up, they just want to putt along. And it's going to be a whole lot more conducive to riding off-road with that type of low-end torque and that smooth low-end throttle response. Now on the highway, this bike does really well. It's got really good roll-on power. And when we talk back about that throttle response, especially when you're going slower, that's going to benefit you a lot in city riding. It has a comfortable seat. It has good ergonomics. Even though we think of it as a 50-50 bike, you can put some serious miles on this bike on the highway. A couple things we need to talk about as far as the motor goes. Owners have seen that above 5,000 RPM, there is some vibration through the handlebars. But the biggest complaint I hear is that the engine is hot. It's warm, and it's going to heat your legs up. And if you're living in a warm environment, a warm climate, that's going to be really killer in the summer. And so you're going to have to take that into account when you buy this model. The gearbox on this Suzuki is super smooth. It's one of the best out there. And along with that, the quick shifter is also one of the best in this class. The weight is 507 pounds or 230 kilograms. The fuel tank is 5.3 gallons or 20 liters, and the suspension is Showa that has 8.7 inches of travel or 220 millimeters in the front and also 8.7 inches and 220 millimeters in the rear. The front and rear are fully adjustable. Let's talk about the suspension a little bit and off-road capabilities. Now, some people have noted that the suspension seems a little bit soft or undersprung for aggressive riding, but it does have 8.7 inches of travel both front and rear, and it's fully adjustable suspension, so you're going to be able to tweak that just a little bit. Add to that a very good electronics package, and I can tell you firsthand, the gravel setting and the ABS settings work really, really well. And some people have said with just a little suspension upgrade, this could be one of the best 50/50 bikes out there. The TFT is large, it has great contrast, it's easy to navigate, the controls are intuitive, it's not overly complicated tech, it's actually useful tech. Now on the highway, the 800DE does really well. It has a comfortable seat, it has good ergonomics. Even though we think of it as a 50/50 bike, you can put some serious miles on this bike on the highway. Owners have stated that this bike feels very planted, it's very confidence-inspiring, and it does really well both on-road and off-road. Ground clearance is 8.7 inches or 220 millimeters. The seat height is 33.7 inches or 850 millimeters. The wheels are 21-inch front, 17-inch rear, and they are tube tires. The tires are Dunlop Trailmax Mixed Tour, and the brakes are by Nissan. And there is an Adventure model that comes with a crash bar and skid plates, and it also has 37-liter black panniers. The price is $11,709 for the standard model. As far as maintenance and reliability goes, the oil is easy to change, the air filter has easy access, it's a very dependable, reliable bike, and it's also got a strong build quality. Let's recap what's good about the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. The engine has smooth, linear, refined power. It has excellent low-end torque. This bike has good off-road electronics. It's super stable, both on and off-road. It has a comfortable seat and good ergonomics. It's got the best quick shifter in class. There's easy maintenance access. And last, it's incredibly reliable. So that's the good. Let's go in and look at the not so good. The number one thing is it's got significant heat on your legs. The suspension is soft and undersprung. The headlight could be a little bit stronger, so it's got poor headlight performance. There's no cruise control, no tubeless tires, and there's below average wind protection. And lastly, there's some vibrations above 5,000 RPM. So that's the good, that's the bad. So time to answer the question, who is the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE really for? Well, it's for people out there that want to do a little bit more off-road riding. And with a little bit of tweaking of the suspension, this could be a 50/50 bike. Now, it's going to be really, really good on the highway, and it can do moderate off-road. Now, it's not going to be aggressive off-road, but at least it gives you more of an option off-road. So who is the V-Strom 800DE not for? Again, it's your hardcore riders that want really good high-performance suspension out of the box. Or it might be you that don't like a lot of heat on your legs. Wah. All right, it's time to move on. Let's go see what our next bike is. If you're looking for a 50/50 ADV bike that has great off-road performance and is sporty on-road, then this KTM 790 Adventure makes a really good case for itself. It's high performance, it's got intelligent electronics, and it's really a practical bike. But it doesn't come without some minor issues. So let's look into that and see about this KTM 790. The engine is 799 cc's and is a parallel twin. It has 95 horsepower, 64 foot-pounds of torque. There is a 6-speed transmission. It does have a power-assisted slipper clutch. It does come with a quick shifter, but you have to pay to unlock that. So let's talk about this 799cc parallel twin from KTM, because there is an elephant in the room. Back in 2018 to 2020, owners were having problems with the camshaft in this bike, and it was wearing through them. And KTM did make some changes to the bike. They said it had something to do with lubrication, but they finally in 2024 admitted that there was a mistake and there was a problem. Now, to fix everything, they've come out with a goodwill policy stating that they will fix the problem in past bikes and if it happens in future bikes. Also, to provide some confidence to ownership, they do have a 4-year premium warranty now. The other thing they said is that their quality control was bad, and so they moved production of this engine over to China, and CF Moto is the one that produces this motor now. So let's get back to the bike. The power delivery on this model is very smooth and predictable, from throttle twist to rear wheel. It's got that KTM character. It's kind of lively and fun. And it's got a lot of low-end torque. It does really well off-road. When you go to the highway, it's very smooth. It's got very little vibration at higher RPMs. And actually, cruising speed, you have lower RPMs than most of the other bikes. And you can have cruise control, but again, that's part of that tech package. Now the windshield does really well and protects you, and it's got a little cutout in the center that kind of reduces buffeting. So the highway on this bike is extremely comfortable, to be honest with you, and that's what's going to make this bike a really good 50-50 bike. The weight is 470 pounds, 213 kilograms. The fuel tank is 5.3 gallons or 20 liters. The suspension is their famous in-house WP Apex. It's got 7.9 inches of travel, 200 millimeters in the front and the rear, and it's fully adjustable. Since 2025, this model has been upgraded with the exact same suspension as what's in the 890, which is a major upgrade for this bike. It's going to give you a whole lot more controlled front end, better off-road absorption, and it's going to improve overall stability. It also comes with a steering damper, which this is going to help you a lot in aggressive off-road riding and give you more confidence. Now the other thing is, we have gas tanks or fuel tanks that are wrapped low and around the engine, which gives a lower center of gravity. This is going to aid a whole lot when you're riding off-road. The low center of gravity that this bike has makes this bike a whole lot easier to pick up after a drop. So this bike really shines on the off-road. And one of the reasons is the electronics package. And so we need to get into that in detail a little bit. But one of the things you have to do is you have to spend $800 to open that up. And that gets you the quick shifter and it gets you all the rider modes. And really, I know that's kind of a bummer. You got to pay an extra $800. But there's so much there that I think you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't pay to unlock that. The 790 features a 6-axis IMU, or internal measurement unit. Now this bike has 4 rider modes. It's got street, off-road, rain, and rally. In street, you're going to have the most traction control and the most ABS. In rain mode, it's going to be a softer throttle response and more sensitive traction control and ABS. In off-road, you're going to have reduced traction control and rear ABS is going to be disabled. In the rally mode, you're going to have ABS off and 9 different traction control settings. And there's also custom settings that you can make. So this bike has a lot of intelligent electronics on it. If you're into that, this bike is a great one for you to tweak. But remember, there's that catch. It's going to cost you $800 to open this up. Now there is a demo mode, and so you can use this when you first buy the bike up to 900 miles, and then it shuts down. So they let you experience it, and believe me, you're probably going to love it, so you're going to pay the $800 to unlock all this. The TFT screen at 5 inches is a little small compared to some of the competitors, but it's easy to move around in, it's intuitive, and it's paired with the backlit controls. The ground clearance is 9.2 inches or 233 millimeters. The seat height is adjustable from 33.1 to 33.9 inches or 840 millimeters to 890 millimeters. The wheels are 21-inch front, 18-inch rear, and surprisingly with this model, the tires are tubeless. The tires are Pirelli Scorpion Rally STRs, and the brakes are made by KTM. The 790 comes with the skid plate, the handguards, and the steering damper. It also has some adjustments in the handlebars that you can make. It now uses the WP Apex suspension that came from the 890, which we talked about earlier. And the price of this bike for the standard model is $10,999. There is an $800 additional charge to turn on the tech package. So now we've gone through the bike, let's go in and look at some good and some not so good. The good in the 790, the motor has smooth, lively, and linear power. It's best in class, hands down, with the electronics package. It's got a lower center of gravity. It has outstanding performance per dollar spent. It has a high fun factor both on and off road. And it's very capable, a true 50-50 platform. But let's go and see what's not so good. You guessed it, the $800 to unlock the tech. Also, past reliability concerns can still be a problem. The TFT screen is small at 5 inches. So that's pretty much it. Let's answer the question, who is the KTM 790 Adventurer for? Well, finally, it's for you hardcore off-road guys. Those that want the tech package. Those that don't mind paying $800 to get it. And in the rally mode, any of you that think you would really use 9 different sets of traction control, if that's your game, then this bike is for you. But who's it not for? Well, it might not be for somebody that wants to ride long distance on the highway. It might not be for somebody that's just a moderate to average off-road rider. And it might not be for somebody who is questioning the reliability. So that's the KTM 790. Let's move on to our next bike. Up next from Moto Morini is the X-Cape 700. It's an Italian-designed middleweight adventure bike that packs a ton of features for the money. Now, if you're looking for a pavement-first middleweight ADV bike and has great components and an excellent warranty, then this might be a hidden gem. So let's have a look. The engine is a 693cc parallel twin. It has 70 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. The transmission is a 6-speed power-assisted slipper clutch. Let's talk about the motor for a second. It's very smooth, very relaxed engine. There's hardly any vibration at 75 miles per hour, and it feels comfortable riding at 75. Power does seem to be a bit low on this bike for a 700cc bike. Now that could be because this is one of the heavier bikes in the class, and the power to weight ratio is very low on this bike compared to some of its competitors. There does seem to be a hesitation at the lower RPMs, or actually between 2,500 and 4,500 RPM, there seems to be a flat spot. But after that, it seems to go into good mid-range and higher range power. This bike does not have ride-by-wire, so it's going to be a simple, predictable throttle feel. However, you're not going to have any rider modes, and you're not going to have any traction control. Now, weight on this bike is 526 pounds, or 238 kilograms. It has a fuel tank of 4.8 gallons, or 18 liters. The front suspension is Marzocchi, 6.9 inches of travel, or 175 millimeters. In the rear, it has KYB with 6.5 inches of travel, or 165 millimeters. The front suspension is fully adjustable. The rear, you only have preload and rebound. So let's talk about the suspension. Now, up front, the suspension is pretty decent. It just doesn't have a lot of travel. Where it lacks is the rear suspension. This is going to be one that if you go off-road to moderate off-road, it's going to bottom out consistently. And it also has a center stand that's low, and it kind of bounces a bit and kind of hits the ground as well. So this bike isn't great for moderate off-road. It's really good for fire roads or dirt roads. And it's got a 19-inch front wheel, so that's going to make it a little bit more limited off-road. However, really good on the highway, and that's where this bike shines. The suspension is great for the highway. It's a very comfortable ride. The seat is wide and comfortable. It's got really good windshield protection, and it's an adjustable windshield. You can move that up or down, and then also the fairing in the front is really pretty large, and it's going to block that air off your legs. So this bike is set up for really good highway travel and not so good for moderate off-road. Now, gravel, fire roads like we talked about, you're going to do fine. So let's be honest, this is not a hardcore off-road bike. It does great on the highway with that 19-inch wheel, although it'd be nice if it had cruise control, but it's not set up for off-road. Even when you go to the TFT screen, which is nice and large, and you select off-road, all it's going to do is it's going to turn your ABS totally off. It's either off or it's on. There is no way to just select the rear wheel off. So it doesn't seem like it's really set up to be an off-road bike. But on-road, I think you're going to love it. Ground clearance is 7.5 inches or 199 millimeters. The seat height is 33.3 inches or 845 millimeters. The wheels, it does have a 19-inch front and a 17-inch rear, and they are tubeless wheels. Also, the tires are Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR, and the brakes are by Brembo. Now, what stands out to me with this bike is its looks. The Italian design, the front end of this bike, there's no other ADV bike that looks like this. And that could be because it's mostly a pavement bike instead of an off-road bike. But it really has some unique features, and I like the look of this bike. Now, the other thing is it comes with a 3-year warranty, and major service intervals are 26,000 miles. There are some aftermarket products you can buy, like heated seat, heated grips, so they are going to make this bike more comfortable for touring. It's a really interesting bike. So a couple miscellaneous things over last year. There is an increased power because now the X-Cape is a 700cc bike instead of a 650cc bike. And then also the price of this bike is $8,299, which that's a pretty good value. So let's go have a look at the good and the not so good. This bike is great value for the money. It handles really well on the highway. You get a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, and the first major service interval is at 26,000 miles. Also good are the small details about this bike. It's got the tire pressure monitoring system, it's got USB, USB-C ports, it's got adjustable windshield, it's got a dash cam, and then it has adjustable handlebars and risers. So that's the good. Let's look at the not so good. Its power is flat around 2,500 to 4,000 RPM. The rear shock is soft and bottoms easily. The center stand hits the ground easily. There is no traction control or off-road ABS, and there is no cruise control. And it has a limited dealer network. So let's ask the question, who is the X-Cape actually for? Well, it's for you guys that want to ride 80% on the pavement. Somebody that wants to take this bike back and forth to work but wants an ADV style bike, or somebody that wants to take some long distance riding and occasionally go on that gravel road or that fire road. Now, who it's not for? Again, you hardcore off-road riders. Anybody that needs the ride modes, anybody that wants the specific traction control, this bike is probably not for you. So this is a very, very good bike capable of the highway and not so much off-road. So let's move on. Let's see what our next bike is. The Yamaha Tenere 700 is one of the most purpose-built middleweight ADV bikes. With its proven CP2 engine, upgraded suspension, and rider aids, this T7 refines its formula without losing its core simplicity. This bike still remains a solid choice for real-world adventure. So let's have a look at the Yamaha T7. The engine is a 689cc parallel twin. It's got 73 horsepower, 50 foot-pounds of torque. The transmission is a 6-speed wet multi-plated clutch, and it does have a quick shifter, but it's optional. Let's talk about the CP2 engine for a minute. This engine has a reputation as being one of the most versatile and dependable engines in the whole middleweight ADV market. Originally derived from Yamaha's MT-07, the CP2 has been engineered specifically for adventure riding. It's prioritizing usable torque, smooth delivery, and reliability of peak horsepower. The T7 has a broad and accessible power band, pulling from the lower RPMs to mid RPMs without being abrupt or jerky or intimidating. Reliability is a major highlight with this engine. It's often been termed as indestructible. It's going to have long service intervals, and this engine has been used in several of Yamaha's other models, so it's got a proven track history. If you're looking to travel long distance or in remote areas, the simplicity and durability of this engine is a huge advantage. However, this engine doesn't come without its flaws. The T7 seems a little bit underpowered, especially when traveling at high speeds or when fully loaded. A lot of riders want that high-end punch at the top end when they're traveling on the highway, and this bike doesn't quite give you that. The Tenere's weight is 459 pounds or 208 kilograms. The fuel tank is 4.2 gallons or 15.9 liters. The suspension is KYB 8.3 inches or 210 millimeters in the front and KYB 7.9 inches or 200 millimeters in the rear, and it is fully adjustable. The T7 still uses a long travel rally-inspired suspension, and it's recently gone through some changes to address the criticisms of earlier models. Off-road, it's significantly more controlled than previous models. Riders report far less bottoming out on the bigger hits, and at higher speeds, the bike feels planted and confidence building. On-road, the suspension is competent but not exceptional. The T7 feels a little bit less refined when it comes to the pavement, but that's largely due to this bike being truly dirt-focused and set up or prioritized off-road riding. So they've given up a little bit of comfort when it comes to riding on the highway. Highway cruising is just okay. Add to that the seat isn't the most comfortable, and there is some mild buffeting at higher speeds. Of course, this all depends on how tall you are from the waist up. Ground clearance is 9.2 inches or 233 millimeters. The seat height is 34.4 inches or 875 millimeters. The wheels, you get a 21-inch front and an 18-inch rear, and they are tube tires. Tires are Pirelli Scorpion STRs, and brakes are by Brembo. Let's talk about the electronics for a minute. This model does have different rider modes and traction control. Now, you're only going to get a Sport or you're going to get an Explorer mode. Sport just gives you a little bit more throttle response at the lower RPMs, where Explorer mode kind of tames that down a little bit. A lot of people I've seen don't even use the Explorer mode when riding off-road because it's just too limiting. Now it does have a nice on the dash ABS switch where you can turn the ABS all the way on, all the way off, or the front on and the rear off. Some have said though that on this newer version you turn it off, turn it back on, and then when you push that dash button, then it remembers what the latest ABS was. So if you've owned a Tenere before and you think that this rider aids and traction control is going to be a really big addition to what you're used to, I guess you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because true hardcore Tenere lovers that ride off-road, they're going to end up turning all this stuff off because they aren't really that great of rider modes and traction control. Things that have been added recently is a new gearbox, which aids in the shifting. You get a lot smoother shifting gearbox. It also has a quick shifter up and down if you want to add that as an option. There is a new side stand. You get wider foot pegs, and the gas cap now is part of the tank, which is a nice feature. Miscellaneous, the new 6.6 vertical TFT display is really nice and clear. It does come with a ride-by-wire throttle now. There are ride modes. There is traction control. The price of the standard bike is $10,999. I'm not sure the price of the World Raid. I hear that the US is going to be getting that, but I'm not sure at what time. The other thing is, there is a rally version, but I don't think we'll be getting that as well. So let's go in and let's look at some of the good and the not so good. The bike has excellent ergonomics both for on-road and off-road. The CP2 engine is indestructible. The suspension is much improved over previous versions. It does now have ride-by-wire throttle and different rider modes. It does have a practical ABS on and off button now. It's still a very capable go-anywhere bike. So let's look at the not so good. Highway travel is just okay on this bike. There is a little bit of noise and wind buffeting. The seat can be uncomfortable for some, and it's still the most top-heavy bike in the class. So let's talk about that for just a second. This is a top-heavy bike. It always has been. Now, Yamaha has changed a little bit by moving their tank a little bit lower and a little bit further forward in the chassis, which they say makes a difference when it comes to picking this bike up. Only time will tell. It's still going to be a difficult bike to pick up. And there's no cruise control and no tubeless tires. So we have to ask ourselves, who is this bike for? Well, this bike is for previous Tenere owners, people that want to go off-road. You know, if you don't want all the sophisticated ride modes and traction control, then this bike is for you. It has it, but it's really limiting. So if you want a very dependable, durable motorcycle that's never going to break down on you and go anywhere, long distance, you're going to be remote areas, then this is the perfect bike for you. And it is a great value. So who is this bike not for? Well, this bike isn't for those that want to hit the pavement, want to be super comfortable when traveling long distances, and it might not be for someone that's a little bit older, a little bit shorter, and has trouble picking up a heavy bike. You're going to go on the internet and look at people picking up this bike, and there's usually 2 people to pick this thing up. I think I would have trouble with it. So if you're worried about that, then this bike might not be for you. So let's have a look at our next bike. Kawasaki's KLR 650. What do we do with this bike? It's got something to do with a doohickey and a thermobob, and there's been talk about it for years and years. And some people say it's fat, some say it's slow, some say it's no good on the highway, but it remains one of the most popular ADV bikes of all time. So let's have a look at it. The KLR's engine is a 652cc single cylinder. It's 40 horsepower. Has 39 foot-pounds of torque. The transmission is a 5-speed wet multi-plated clutch. So the KLR 650 motor, to some it's a cult classic, to others it's a source of frustration. A lot of it has to do with its old school design, but it's very durable and it's really not under a lot of stress, so they can run for tens of thousands of miles and have very easy maintenance schedules. It does have great low-end torque, which makes it a good off-road bike. However, this motor does have a few flaws that are well known, and one of those is the doohickey. That has to do with the chain tensioner inside the motor, and it does need to be replaced within 5,000 miles. If that chain tensioner slips down, it can cause some permanent damage inside the motor. The other thing is a thermobob. So basically this engine can't regulate its temperature, and the thermobob is an item that will keep it at a constant even temperature. There's also been many accounts of this engine burning a lot of oil, typically when you're running at high RPMs for long distances. Yeah, this engine isn't perfect. It is dated. You get vibrations at speed. It's got modest horsepower, but it's really reliable and durable. And so the owners that really like this bike and like this motor like it because it lasts forever. KLR's weight is 460 pounds or 208 kilograms. The fuel tank is 6.1 gallons or 23 liters. The suspension is made in-house by Kawasaki, and it's got 7.9 inches or 201 millimeters in the front and 8 inches or 203 millimeters in the rear. The front suspension is not adjustable. The rear suspension has preload and rebound. So let's talk about the suspension. It's really a basic suspension. There's no adjustability up front. You know, if you're going light off-road, gravel roads, things like that, it can be confidence inspiring and it's going to be capable. But the minute that you head off-road and do some moderate off-road riding, that suspension is going to fail you. It's not going to be capable to do what you want it to do. It's going to bottom out frequently.
Let's go, donkey.
Now, as far as the highway goes, it's a really good, decent ride on the highway. And you've got good wind protection with the windshield. It's got a front fairing that's pretty decent size that's going to protect your legs as well. So I think people that buy this bike, they know what they're getting, and so they're okay with the suspension. The ground clearance is 8.3 inches or 210 millimeters. The seat height is 34.3 inches or 871 millimeters. That's for the standard model. The wheels are 21-inch front and 18-inch rear, and they are tubed. The tires are Dunlop K750, and the brakes are by Nissan. Now, at 460 pounds, it's fairly heavy, but it's streamlined, and it's surprisingly easy to move around. And it acts like a dual sport. It looks like a dual sport. You know, people think of it as a dual sport, but really it carries itself as an adventure bike. Miscellaneous, the KLR has a Model S that lowers the seat height from 34.3 inches to 32.1 inches. There's also an adventure model that has panniers, it's got ABS, it's got fog lights, it's got USB port, and it's got a 12-volt socket. Price for the standard bike with no ABS is $6,899. Now for $7,199, you can get that same bike with ABS brakes. The Model S, which is shorter with ABS brakes, is $7,249, and for $8,099, you can get the adventure model with ABS brakes. Another couple miscellaneous things, it does come with handguards, but they're plastic. It does come with a skid plate. It's plastic. And it does come with crash bars. But really, that metal tube is so small, the minute you drop this bike, it's going to bend those. So that's a look at the KLR 650. Let's see what's good and what's not so good. The good, it's easy to ride, it's confidence building, it's hard to beat for the money, it's comfortable, stable on the highway, it has plenty of low-end torque, it has low maintenance intervals, it's easy to work on, it has proven durability, and it has a dual sport feel with ADV capability. But there are some not so good, so let's take a look. The not so good, it is heavy and underpowered for its weight. It has really basic suspension and limited adjustments. The brakes are just okay. The skid plate, crash bar are weak. As we talked about, there is possible oil consumption at highway speeds. It requires a doohickey upgrade, and it requires a thermobob upgrade. So let's ask the question, who is this KLR 650 really for? Well, it's those that want durability over performance. Those that want a simple bike that's easy to maintain. Someone that wants to go from point A to point B, but they don't care how long it takes. And it could be for that rider that's brand new and wants a bike that's not as intimidating to ride off-road. Now, who is this bike not for? Well, it's for those that want serious off-road performance. They want a suspension that's good out of the box. They want the latest tech. They want to get from point A to point B as quick as they can. So this bike, it's not fast, it's not fancy, but it's going to get you to where you need to go. So that's the KLR 650. Let's head and look at our next bike. Up next, the CF Moto 800 MTX. Now this is a middleweight bike that shares a whole lot of DNA with the KTM Adventurer. Now I'm not sure when this model will be in the United States. It should be shortly, but it'll probably be called the Ibex 800. Now this MTX is going to have a lot of features on it, and it's going to be a really reasonable price bike. So we'll have to see if it stands up to the hype. So let's have a look. The engine is a 799cc parallel twin. It has 93 horsepower. It has 64 foot-pounds of torque. It does have a 6-speed transmission with a power-assisted slipper clutch, and it does have a quick shifter included. So when it comes to this engine on the 800 MTX, it is sharing the same platform as the KTM 790 Adventure. So it's got a smooth gearbox, it's got really good punch from mid-range to upper range. Riders say that it could use a little bit more torque down in the low end. And then at highway speeds, there seems to be a little bit more vibration than what the 790 has. Now it does have a quick shifter. It just doesn't work quite as smooth as the KTM 790 when you're talking about going through the lower gears. Now the biggest difference between these two models that use the same engine platform is the mapping. And the KTM seems to be a little bit more refined, a little bit more punchy, to whereas the CF Moto is a little bit sluggish and it's just not quite as responsive and playful as the KTM. Now CF Moto claims that they've changed the top end and they've changed the lubrication system on this engine so that you shouldn't have the cam wear that the KTM is noted for. Surprisingly, similar to their 450 model, is this exhaust note is really beefy and meaty and has a really good tone to it. So you're going to get a very similar engine as what you get with the KTM 790, but like the Kove 800, it's just not as refined. The weight of the CF Moto is 485 pounds or 220 kilograms. The fuel tank is 5.9 gallons or 22.5 liters. I'm not sure how to pronounce the company that makes the suspension. I'm going to say it's Yuan. It's got 9 inches of travel in the front end, or 230 millimeters, and it has 9 inches of travel in the rear as well, and it is fully adjustable. The suspension is from a company called Yuan. It's a Chinese company that's been building suspension since 1986, and it makes all the suspension for all the Kove off-road models. So it's a very good suspension. It's comfortable. It's a good mixed-use suspension. I mean, it has 9 inches of travel, the front and the rear, and so you're not going to bottom this out. It's very predictable, very smooth off-road. It has good traction, a stable feel, and it's very well balanced. This bike's going to have a good low center of gravity, and the reason is it carries its fuel down low around the engine, and that's very similar to what the KTM 790 does as well. So that low center of gravity makes this a really good off-road bike and makes it better on moderate terrain, and slow speeds makes it easier to handle as well. Add to that, it does have a steering damper, so that can help you when you're going a little bit faster off-road. On the highway, this bike does really well. It's comfortable, it's stable, it's planted. It's got decent wind protection. When you get to the higher speeds, there is a little bit of buffeting and a little bit of vibration you can feel in the handlebars. But really, it's a decent road bike. Also, this bike comes with cruise control. Off-road riding, this bike has a really good standing position. The ergonomics are set up just right for that. And then add to that, the tank's a little bit thinner, so you can grip the tank more and you don't feel like you're spread out. You feel like you have a little bit more control of this bike. Ground clearance on this bike is 9.5 inches or 240 millimeters. The seat height is 34 inches or 870 millimeters. The wheels are 21-inch front and 18-inch rear, and they are tubeless. The tires are CST or Shangshin tires, and the brakes are by J1. The brakes are by a company called J1. They've been making brakes for over 60 years, and back in 2021, they were bought by Brembo. There's good feedback from these brakes from what riders say. They're not overly harsh. There's good confidence when you come into really hard stops. The technology on this bike is really good. It's got a really nice 7-inch vertical display TFT screen. It's got Bluetooth connectivity. It has a tire pressure monitoring system. It's got USB. It's got USB-C. The only complaint is with the TFT system, some riders say it is a little bit hard to navigate and move around in. Now, the price of the CF Moto bike is going to be based on Australia's model that's out, and that's 14,999 Australian dollars. That converts to 10,606 American dollars. So that's a lot of value. I will say, though, that people are saying that there's a lot of plastic on this bike, but we kind of knew that with the 450 when it came out as well. So let's go take a look at what's good and what's not so good. Some of the good, excellent value for the price. It does have a low center of gravity. It's got good, strong mid-range performance, and it's got good brakes, or the brakes feel good. Some of the extras included, you get an adjustable windshield, you get a quick shifter, and you get a steering damper. And the suspension is good for everyday use. So that's the good. Let's look at the not so good. The TFT menu can be confusing. There is vibration and buffeting at highway speeds. This bike needs a little bit more low-end torque. Like we talked about, some of the plastic components seem cheap. The mirrors tend to loosen easily. It's got plastic handguards, and the quick shifter is rough at low RPMs. Time to ask that question, who is the CF Moto 800 MTX for? Well, it's for a rider that likes the KTM 790 Adventure, but wants to spend a little bit less money. Somebody that doesn't mind having a little bit more plastic on their bike. It's for somebody that might be a new adventure rider and they can adjust the seat and make it a little bit lower and have that low center of gravity. But it's also for somebody that wants to do some moderate off-road, because this bike will do it. So let's ask the question, who is this bike not for? Well, it's for you hardcore off-road riders again. Somebody that demands quality premium parts when it comes to their motorcycles. Something like the KTM. So that's what the CF Moto 800 MTX is all about. Let's go check out our next bike. Hey, if rumors are true, we're going to get 2 new models in this division, and hopefully this year. One is going to be the Honda Africa Twin 650, and the other one's going to be the Royal Enfield Himalayan 650. And if both of these come out and are anything like their previous models, the 450 for the Himalayan and the larger bike for the Africa Twin, yeah, this could really shake up this class of budget bikes. So I'm looking forward to that. What happens is it makes it difficult for us to make a choice because there's so many good bikes out there. But I'm going to make a choice right now. Let's go have a look at what I consider are the top models and what I would choose today. So my choice for best off-road bike has to be the Kove 800X Pro. 95 horsepower, 408 pounds, 9.5 inches of travel in the suspension. This bike has proven, and Kove has proven over the last year or two, that they're a serious off-road contender. And there isn't anything that's really close to this bike when it comes to the weight. And so that's going to be my choice for the best off-road bike. My choice today for on-road is going to be the Honda Transalp. That motor is just super smooth, and it can do 80 miles an hour all day long. It's very comfortable riding. So there isn't anything that comes close except maybe the Suzuki V-Strom. But yeah, this Honda Transalp belongs on the road. Best bang for your buck? Well, that's going to be the CF Moto 800 MTX. Yeah, it's a little bitty mini KTM 790. It's got all the tech. It's just that you get that for $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper. So if you want to save a little money, but you want to have a really good bike that's good on-road and off-road, that's going to be the CF Moto. My choice today has to be the Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. This bike is going to do everything I need. I wish it wasn't as hot when it comes to the engine. I wish it had tubeless tires. But I'm going to get reliability, a good dealer network, and I'm going to know when I go out that that bike's going to bring me back. And at my age, that's really important. So thanks for watching today. A lot of great ADV bikes in this budget class of the middleweight ADV class, and sounds like there's some more coming as well. There's some that are really good on-road, some that are good off-road, some that are good 50-50, and it makes it a very difficult decision. But leave a comment. Let me know which bike you would choose today and why. Thanks again for watching. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video.